Hi, Maggie, and to all the followers of Cheap Irish Houses. My name is Brian McCarthy. I'm a real estate agent in Ireland with some experience in Australia over the last 15 years. First and foremost, can I say to Maggie, congratulations on the series. I think it had a lot of people across the country gripped. You done really, really well and portrayed what's out there for people on a limited budget. Just going, or I suppose, with reference to your video last week, you kind of done a Dear Irish Estate Agents video. Some things that were frustrating, some things that people in your bracket struggle with or find frustrating when they're trying to search for a property. So, as an estate agent with a little bit of time in my hands, I just said I'd take a few notes from your video and maybe come back at the points that you made with maybe the relevance or where we as estate agents see the points that you made, some very very valid, and maybe some that you might need understanding from your side. So starting from the top of your video, first thing you mentioned was to mention how big a garden is or to give a size on a garden. Now, when estate agents are giving measurements, you often see circa 1 acre or circa half an acre, which is approximately. We don't want to tie ourselves to an amount of ground or anything like that, especially when you're talking about farmhouses or something on half an acre or on 3/4 of an acre, something like that. Boundaries can change, and oftentimes we won't know a boundary, or a boundary mightn't be defined. If a property like that hasn't changed hands for a couple of 100 years, you mightn't figure out what the actual boundary is until um, the map is done to change it from a registry of deeds to a copy to a digital title. So estate agents would be they would be wary of that. No, there's nothing to stop people putting an approximate or two convenient tools. If the property already has a digital title, if you wanted to look up Land Direct, www.landdirect.ie, a map of Ireland will come up. You can zone in on the property. It'll have the outline, and if you click twice on the property, it'll give you the site size as registered on the map. Um, or another tool is www.myplan.ie. Again, it's an Arden survey map. It's a map of Ireland. You can zoom in on it. You'll see the site, and you can draw and measure to give yourself an idea. But again, maybe estate agents can take on board what you're saying, and certainly anyone I worked with that was selling country properties always gave an estimation of the size of the plot without committing to the exact size of the plot. Um, the location pin was the next point you made. I don't think there's any excuse for that. Very simple. In this day and age, when we're plotting properties on a mainstream website, there's no reason why we can't get the location pin right. So anyone that's just a little bit of carelessness. I know I've worked in places that do location pin, air code, and GPS coordinates. When you're dealing with really back countryside properties, and I mean, if you have the three of those things to coordinate, you're not going to go wrong. So that's a very valid point, and the mistake of agents plotting back to their own office is unfortunate. It's disappointing to hear that, and it's unfortunate. The next point you made was when properties were last lived in. Again, I'd like to think that trained agents or good agents would have this information to hand, um, and and would be able to give it to you. And it's all well and good to be able to give you this information if it was 4 years ago, or if it was 18 months ago, or if it was 9 years ago. But as it goes 10, 12, 15, 20, maybe a little bit more difficult. And again, without wanting to give false information. Um, you're just mentioned on that, if you get the amount of time it's been since someone has lived there, you might figure out whether the property needs to be replumbed or rewired or different things like that. That's all well and good from your point of view, and you're on the TV show. You've got Kieran, who I've heard through the grapevine is an excellent engineer and excellent at what he does to advise people what needs to be done. But us as auctioneers don't want to get caught up in the conversation of whether a property needs to be rewired or replumbed, as it's there for all to see, and that's more of an engineer's job to be giving those kind of recommendations. So the kind of works required, we hand on to the engineer when an engineer's report is being carried out. The next item you mentioned was the BER rating. Again, a bone of contention for a lot of people, and I genuinely really do understand why. Um, to do with the regulations of BER certs, the only properties that are exempt from a BER are places of worship or a building used for religious activity, national monuments, non residential or industrial or agricultural buildings with a low installed heating capacity, temporary structures, protected structures, and small dwellings with a useful floor area below 50 square meters. Now, some of the cottages you're looking at may have a useful floor area below 50 square meters. I accept that. But anything that doesn't or doesn't come under any of the other headings needs to have a BER. It's against the law. Anyone, as I say, I've worked for over my career since BERs came in. It's advertising standards. We need to advertise the BER, and anyone who isn't, I think you should be pulling them up on it. A property won't close or the transaction won't be complete without the BER anyway. So the auctioneers that aren't putting them up are going to have to go on a scramble to get one done after they've accepted an offer, which is pretty pointless. I mean, unless something is, there's no real excuse for it in this day and age. Anything I've dealt with myself personally, especially in the last couple of years, the various employers I've worked for have insisted that a BR be carried out as part of the listing process, and it goes on any advertising, be it the newspaper, online, on your online portals, or print media. The BER follows the property everywhere it's advertised. The next item you mentioned was the room sizes, overall square footage. Again, just going back to the kind of land sizes, there's different things here, and we would always protect ourselves from. Oh, you sold me a house that was 1,000 square feet, and it actually turns out that it's only 950. With advertising standards like that, again, we do have a standardized measuring practice, which is all well and good. A gross internal area of a property. Some people might go gross external area. Again, it's down to an engineer and giving individual measurements. Some people do it, and some people don't. It's a time thing. I don't think a rookie house buyer who's coming in and looking at a place, if you put 2.1 meters by 3.4 meters on a page in front of them, that it has much relevance. Personally, I like to use floor plan, which gives you the layout, which gives you an idea, which gives the person a description, and it can see the shape of it. When they go to see the property, they'll get an idea of the size. But it's all time, and giving a layout, I think, is a stronger method than giving a measurement in feet and inches of every room. We can agree to disagree on that one, maybe. Um, the next item was interior pictures. Again, I don't think there's any defense of this. I always like to say what I'm selling, it is what it is. Over the recent part of my career, I like to use a professional photographer for stuff, for all properties I'm selling of all standards, and that gives people a good idea of what they're buying. I don't. The photographer I use doesn't ever alter pictures. There's no photoshopping. Anything you see in a picture will be the same when you come out. He does use a wide angle lens, and he does use boom flashes, so the place is always filled with light. It's important to light places properly, but I do agree, rooms good and bad, because what you're um, you're selling is what it is, and if you try and make it something it's not, people will very quickly figure that out when they come and see it in person. Um, I mean, pictures taken of a property 10 years previously is misleading people, to be honest, and that's something that I'd write on a review of an auctioneer's website. I absolutely see no reason why a property should be anything different to a picture when someone comes out to see it. Because if they see a picture of one thing and they come out and it's another thing, the trust element will be lost. And people like doing business with people that they trust, and that'd be an issue straight off the bat. So I think that I think that it's disappointing to think that that's happening. That pictures are being used from previous when a property was in a better condition. But I'd like to think that um, that's a very minimal occurrence. Derelict properties, or a section for derelict properties on the websites. Again, I think this is something for the website providers and those portals that we use. Certainly something to write to them about. We're restricted by the drop down menus that they have. Some people will consider the site, again, if, as you've correctly said, if there's planning gained on it, people will often consider it a site, and they put it in the site section. Is it a site? Is it a farmhouse? A custom built cottage or bungalow. Maybe something that's, if there was a livable or non-livable section or something like that. I wholeheartedly agree that something like this would be of benefit to the customers that you're dealing with, um, and would help people to decipher what exactly they're looking for. Um, the social media, again, this isn't something that can be hammered into estate agents. I'd hope I'm on the younger side, and that younger agents are trying to embrace social media and technology with virtual tours, as we are at the moment with COVID-19, etc. Um, but again, this is a firm by firm thing, I suppose, or an individual by individual. Some people's social media game is stronger than others, and I suppose I'm not going to give away anything to strengthen opposition, but I'd certainly take on board what you're saying in the light of social media and people's use of same. Emailing people and replying, I mean, this is old school stuff. People deserve a reply. I'd like to think that I reply to everybody who sends me an email on a property that I'm dealing with. I'm not making myself out to be perfect, but this is bread and butter stuff, and what we're aiming to do. The one thing that I would say, and this is with all due respect to people in um, your bracket and the bracket of the cheap Irish homes thing, everybody, or a huge amount of people, think they can buy a cheap Irish home, and there is an element of time wasters in that bracket. A low budget is a low budget, and that's something I absolutely respect. But no budget isn't a low budget, and you have people who are just not in a position to gain any finance, and they think that 40 grand is nothing. It's not nothing. It still needs to be borrowed, or it still needs to be pulled together. So, you know, when we're showing these properties, or the night after Dermot Bannon has been on television, or your good self has been on a show showing what something that can be bought so cheaply, or an outhouse or something like that, can be resurrected into for small money. The phone is hopping, and we need to establish if the people have the finance and the means to be able to purchase them as well. I would say to people, if they are sending an email to an estate agent, to try and engage a small bit. Hi, I've seen this property in a certain place. It's very intriguing. It's something that ticks some of my boxes. I was just wondering if there was any further information. Personally, me, my husband, and our two kids are looking for somewhere for our family to relocate to. We have finances and a budget in place. You certainly don't have to say what your budget is, but to say that you have finances organised, be they cash or approval in principle or something like that, you will engage an auctioneer a little bit more than just writing an email saying more pictures, please. So maybe that on both sides might work to help people to draw more information. Taking down properties that are sold is the next point you made. Again, I can't make any defense for that. People are trying to bulk up their listings, or they're trying to do this or trying to do that. There's no excuse for it. Um, Properties that are sale agreed are mark sale agreed, and unfortunately, a high percentage of them fall through. No matter if you're talking about a three-bedroom semi in Dublin 4 or a two-bedroom cottage in West Cork, both of which I've dealt with in my career over the last few years, they sale agree, prices are agreed, they fall through. Engineers kick them up, letters of offer expire, certain things happen. So sale agreed properties, over and back, we can sell stuff. Auctioneers around the country will tell you they'll sell stuff three, four, and five times. Unfortunately, that's part of it. But when a property is sold and closed, it should disappear off the internet. I absolutely agree with you on that one. And the last, oh, sorry, the site section one I think I covered earlier. Maybe writing, with your clout after your very successful TV series, writing to the portal providers to give us a section, which is cottages or maybe derelict or livable, unlivable, something like that. It again help us all in the industry to help inform you and the buyers that you advise. The bone of contention, and the last thing I think that you mentioned was the price on application. Uh, Price on application, and I suppose we get a lot of negative press, but people have to remember that auctioneers and estate agents are instructed by sellers. Sellers instruct us to sell places, and we act on the instructions we're given. Around the countryside, I know in my own area, maybe less and less so since the property price register came in, because people are going to know anyway. But people are very protective of their business, and their land is their business. And sometimes people just do not want the price they're asking for a house to be public knowledge. They want us to clarify that a person is genuinely interested, and then you start talking about the price. It's unfortunate. It's maybe informative for the people you're trying to represent when you're scanning through and maybe picking five or six properties that suit people. But it's an instruction we're given time after time, unfortunately. The other situation where I would use price and application is if I genuinely feel that the owner is looking for too much. Again, we're instructed by owners. If I think something is worth 100,000 and the owner tells me that they think it's worth 120,000, well, it's their instruction. I can only act on the instructions that I'm given. And in that situation, I might put a property up at price and application. And if I get five people who are interested in the property in that area and they come through, they look at the property, they quite like it, and they make an offer of 95,000, and three other people look at it and they don't make any offer, and a fourth person makes an offer of 97,000, well, then I have information to go back to the owner and I can say, five people have looked at it, or 10 people have looked at it. Eight of them had no interest. Two people have made offers, and this is the level people are offering at. And we're 20,000 short of where you thought it was, but this is the strong data fed information. I'm a qualified valuer as well to European Central Bank standard, and we have different ways of valuing property. But at the end of the day, the value of a property that's for sale is the price that somebody is willing to pay for it. And um, I can, through expertise, experience, studying local conditions, can make an opinion of price on a given property on a given day in an arm's length transaction. But mine is only an opinion. If you have a three-bed semi in a local town, um, and demand is high in that town, and you have 20 people looking at it, so you have 20 people who are interested in buying a three-bed semi in that town, well, where their offers or the information you'll gain from them and what they offer for that property is a direct reflection of the market value of the property, because it's there for all to see. And it's a direct reflection of where the price is at. So while it is frustrating, I do get it. Have a small bit of pity on us there. We have to manage the expectations of both buyers and sellers, but at the end of the day, our client is always the seller, and it's the seller we have to keep happy. Buyers get frustrated sometimes. I get that myself. I try and work with them as very, very best I can. But at the end of the day, he who pays the piper calls the tune, and in a real estate transaction in Ireland, that is the seller. Once again, Maggie, I'd like to congratulate you on the series. I hope my reply video puts some people in the light as to our taking it as estate agents. I'm speaking solely for myself and my own experiences. It's not a reflection on anyone else or any organisation, but just something I thought it'd be interesting to do with a bit of spare time. Best of luck with it. If I can ever be of assistance, be sure to reach out, and best of luck with Cheap Irish Homes. And hopefully, we'll see you soon with series number 2. Well done.